Everyone have a good lunch? All full and tired now? Everyone had coffee? Alright, so we talked about already how to like leverage data, sort of like how to do transactions and things like that. So we're gonna finish the basic training part of the APM course with alerts. And so we'll be going through like how we define alerts, how New Relic kind of thinks about alerts, and then I think you're actually going to go, I'm going to do like a lab as well, where we use New Relic alerts with insights. There's a lot of new alerting modules now, so where you could previously only use these alert policies, this is actually in your guys' account, the total account. If you notice, this is a sub-menu here of APM, and this is actually not available in most other Autodesk accounts. This is the legacy, actually V2 alerting console. So we are going to actually convert this account over to use V2 alerts because none of these alert policies are actually on. I mean, they're all in defaults and then you can rely on, but okay, it's actually configured. So this reason I talk about this though is because this is the this alerting console was built for the old APM product, and it didn't actually do anything but alert on Apdex and everything. So you can do key transaction Apdex and every alert. We can do something like say, alert me when my service was is at 1 second response time. You can do static threshold migration. Also, you can alert on anything but APM data. So that wasn't super useful. So we decoupled that alert product, part of the APM product. And I think we started V3 alerting, I don't know, like 2+ years ago or something like that. Then they created its own data evaluation pipeline on the very edge of New Relic selectors. And it also became a centralized alerting console for all the products. So, who's an admin in the TLV account? Anybody? Go into alerts.
You want to
click
be
this button.
alert admin? Oh, okay.
Can these alerts pull data from infrastructure?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Infrastructure is kind of backwards. It's dynamic.
Alert and where? Switch
Alerts,
to new?
there's a switch to New Relic alerts button.
I'm already switched on for me.
Yeah, for me as well.
No, can't.
Did someone hit it?
It's individually for your user.
It's for the whole sub account.
So,
Is it just me maybe?
no, יכול להיות שאין לך permissions. רגע, wait, let me see which account I'm on, because we have 2 accounts.
It's in the TLV product.
Yeah, I'm on the pre-prod one. Okay, prod.
And in pre-prod you already switched over?
Yes.
Perfect.
Here's the pod. Okay.
Alright.
Switch.
I'll you do that. So, if you ever see this though, just know this is V1 alerts. We're in process of end-of-lifing V1 alerts.
Okay, it's done.
Cool, perfect, thank you, Sam. It will just disappear eventually. Think of it like a vestigial Relic tail. It will just fall off. It's going away around the same time as the legacy servers product will be end-of-life. Cool. So, the new alerting system has a simple sort of structure to it. You can create a policy object. I'm going to actually whiteboard a little bit. So, policy object can have any number of these conditions. Say your policy. And one, like this one has an Apdex and an Airway alert, which you should have for every application you deploy. But then, so the conditions, they're all or conditions. So it's if condition 1 is met, or condition 2 is met, or condition 3 is met. Then, and these are things like Apdex, right? Apdex, Airway. Maybe we do, I'll show you this, we'll show you baselines. We can baseline things now in New Relic. And we assume that you know where these alerts go to. So it's like we want to define a grouping. I can spell grouping. And that's the policy level. Group all of these different conditions together. And we define what, right? The what is like your conditions. And then you also define who. You can also actually tell why, but it's a different thing. So who is things like ServiceNow. We have ServiceNow integration to publish your alerts to a webhook. Sends a JSON payload, pretty simple. This is where all alerts will be going in the future. So like all standard alert policies will go into ServiceNow for event correlation. That's like part of the Autodesk standardization mandate. But for personal needs, you guys have maybe the team that's responsible for a given service that has all these different conditions. Like, I don't know, DevOps, right? Who responds to all the alerts? DevOps does everything? Alert driven? Probably. Right. Do you guys get PagerDuty or anything?
Yeah, it all goes through ServiceNow and then
All the
goes
service
through
now. So bad. So
Yeah.
we'll get you there.
No, it
Should
goes,
go both, at least.
no, it goes ServiceNow and then ServiceNow pulls PagerDuty.
Right. We'll get there. I'm fighting that thing. So you get the DevOps team gets escalation through ServiceNow, or you get a ticket that goes to PagerDuty. And then you might also want to have like another policy that's somebody else's personal policy. Let's say you're working on a project. I'll pick on you again, Eve. You want to alert on your browser application, and maybe nobody else cares about what needed experimenting with the browser, and you want to have a JS error rate alert. That's a KPI in browser that we track, automatically inject the browser JavaScript and track all the JavaScript exceptions, and just goes to Niv. Like, hey, just for me. So there's a different workflow. So that's the basic way we think about alerting. Niv knows what his threshold should be because he's looking at JavaScript error rates and doing appointments. And these are just general indicators of like, oh my gosh, something's probably broken or down. So that's the basic structure of alerts.
I have questions about this.
Sure.
Is it possible to get an alert as soon as a certain event just fires? Because I try to play around with it, and you always need to define for at least X amount of time. So I didn't quite understand, like, if I want to just get any event alerted, how exactly to do that? Okay. So if I do want to do something like that, how would you hack it?
It depends. So you probably want to have some kind of New Relic query language alert. That's the New Relic query language alerts can go down to like a 2-minute time window for the evaluation of the metric. And so if you reach the threshold, say I emit one twice in a 2-minute period, once a minute, then send an alarm, like true false, binary.
If you want specific stuff, you can do through the logs with Splunk. It will be more right, because this is an aggregator.
Yeah, most of the alerts aggregate into the metric in order to trigger an alarm. So if you want like this very one specific event, I want an email or something every time it happens.
Yeah.
You could write an alert condition in Splunk.
Yeah, that's
So you would do it in Splunk, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's pretty sure.
All right, be sure of us. I think like the use cases are fairly distinctly different, though, right? Do you have a specific thing? Like,
Yeah, we have a system that runs certain tasks in the background, then we want to be able to just know if something goes wrong. It doesn't need to go wrong for a certain length of time. It just, as soon as it goes wrong, I want to know. So that's my use case.
So maybe you do it load on the opposite condition. So whenever it's running, it has a throughput metric. It probably has a metric in New Relic if it's monitored by us. And if it doesn't, you can custom attribute, you can custom instrument it. You can add timers to it using the APIs.
So you'd say if it's not running okay for X amount of time?
Yeah, if the throughput drops below 1.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah. Then send it along.
Cool.
We recently made some changes where previously users could just go create alerts. Now it's only owners and admins can create alerts by default. So I imagine most DevOps guys are probably going to be doing a lab, and maybe you guys can like buddy up with people who don't have.
And alerts for infrastructure are separate than alerts for
They're
alerts.
separate, but if you create an alert, it will go into. You can have infrastructure alerts go into the new alerts UI. You just manage them because they're tag driven via the infrastructure UI. So this afternoon we're going to do alerts, baseline alerts and things like that. I'm going to go through how Insights works, and then that'll give you a good foundation to understand infrastructure and move that fast. And then we can put some alerts for infrastructure too. I imagine most of you probably have looked at the data in New Relic but haven't configured the alert policy before. Is that fair? Fair to say? Steven's probably done it.
I've done it all. I've done it.
Sounds like it. So basic process is that you're going to actually, oh, this is super old. This actually has plugins in there now.
I think we already have some.
We have some, yeah. I'll just show it for the rest of the class. So, oh yeah, this is we did this too. So this is new as well. There's a new alert definition page. If during this lab, whenever we make anything, we should probably tag it with something. Just
We can delete it.
example. This is not the lab. So you have an alert policy name, you have channels that tie to the policy, and then you have this incident preference thing that you can select. So the incident preference, there's 3 kinds. And these conditions here, like Apdex threshold, can target any number of different entities in Relic. And those entities can be the application, so our workflow is production application. And they can be scoped to the application level or the instance level. Like in the case of JVMs, you can select JVM level metric alerting for, say, garbage collection time for an application, and it will apply to all the JVMs, and those will all be independent targets. Where this ties back to alerts is, you can have the policy alarm and create a unique incident. Every time a condition is violated, you can open an incident. If you have the incident preference for the policy set by policy, as it says, you only open one incident for any of the conditions that are violated. So the first condition that violates that's threshold, be it in this example over there, Apdex, error rate, or baseline condition, will open an incident, and any further violations will not. So that's like the least noisy version.
For how long?
Until the first violation clears. Second type is by condition. So open one incident for every condition, regardless of the number of targets that are violating. Okay. So in our example over there, if condition 1, Apdex violates, and then the error rate also violates, while the Apdex condition is violated, then we open a second incident. And those will all show up in your incident log. The third style is the most noisy. So this is every unique combination of the condition and entity can create its own incident. I don't know of anybody that really wants that many alerts. If you get the first one, you should be taking action on it, I hope. Some use cases I can think of for this are if you want to feed like a MookSoft or BigPanda event correlation engine with lots of different data points. That can be useful maybe if you're like crunching down the data. I don't know. Really, you want it to be actionable though. You don't want to just send yourself a bunch of noise. So if the first entity violates condition, I don't know that you want to get a bunch more alerts. You should be reacting to the incident instead of just like letting it scan all day. By reference. All right, so let's make that policy. There's my training policy. Once you've got a policy and you've chosen an alert style for it, you can go basically select any different product. APM browser, obviously, synthetics, legacy servers, mobile, and then where it says NURCL, this is actually Insight's query language. So, so I'm showing you, say, the error rate example in the DM app. Any of these charts that use the analytics engine, where you can hover over them and you can view the query and insights like I was doing earlier, you can also just view the raw query. And you can actually make an alert from this. So you select count star from, let's actually do here. Oh, it's not actually, it's just going to count the errors. Oh, whatever. I'll just grab the beginning of that query, and you could do a NURBL alert. Do you just get an alert?
Yeah. No. Not a New Relic one.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There you go. So if you populate the query in there, it should automatically like create a metric for you. So basically pick the product you want to alert on, and you can create basically almost any alert you want in using NURBL, using custom attributes.
What's the plugins then?
Sorry?
Plugins?
Plugins are dead. Plugins are being replaced by infrastructure as well, pretty much. Okay. Plugins could be something like, I was saying before though, we had like a load balancer integration. There's ones for like Oracle database metrics, so like all sorts of stuff.
So that's all just being set.
Yeah, so infrastructure has the new plugins like Cassandra, MySQL metrics, Nginx proxy metrics. And those are fully supported by New Relic. Oh, StatsD, sorry, StatsD. We just released the StatsD plugin. Those are fully supported by New Relic. The plugins were community driven, so there's often just no support, or like they're not really actively developed anymore. Yeah. So if you have problems with an infrastructure integration, we can actually help you with it. Plugins are kind of on your own, or there are like a lot of little GitHub projects that people forego to do things like chain mesh metrics and stuff like that. So let's say we're going to do a good example of like a APM baseline. Go APM, get your application metric baseline. These are our new AI algorithms. So I think someone asked about outlier detection earlier. This is how you do sort of our style of outlier detection. There is a maximum 100 conditions per policy. I don't think you actually run into that ever. Make sure that when you're making a policy, you name everything very concisely. So you'll automatically get a name for the condition. It will tell you, I made an Apdex threshold for when the Apdex is too low. But if there's something specific you're doing, like in doing like a miracle query or something, you should name it something concise so that when someone gets the alert, they actually are able to respond. Cool. Alright, into this. And best practice, always make your alerts actionable and do not send too many alerts. You're going to just wear people out. It's just not super useful. So, this is fun too. So, if you want, we're going to go through a lab and you can actually go make an alert. I think we should do a training to make your training tag like I did. But we're going to see if you can make an alert policy for the threshold of 5,000 requests per minute or higher. So you guys can try and figure out how to actually do that. It's in the APM tab. I'll give you that hint. So you can alert on, right? Whereas before you could alert on only a few things. In APM you can alert on every application metric. And yeah, do it in the Tel Aviv account and name it something training.
Yeah, do it. We'll
No one
delete
has
it.
access.
We'll delete it anyway.
But we don't have access.
Most of the users don't have access.
Yeah, you need to be admin.
Because I didn't certify for because I didn't went to the training.
Very sure.
I know that means. Yeah.
So can you not even look at the? You just can't even see.
You can look at them, but you cannot create.
You can't even see the form unless I Google images or something.
Alright, Simon, do you know how to do that? At least, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Would there be ever any case where developers would want to?
We want. So first of all,
We
we
axle the power. This is the only thing.
all this
yeah.
training purpose is getting them familiar, get them interested with New Relic, and get them come to us, make the alerts. And then when they know about this and how to configure, they can do it themselves. That's our purpose. To get them engaged with their own services, and they know the services the best.
Alright, so I'll show you what's possible then. This is going to take. Okay, so first thing we need is an entity. This list is it's actually a static list. So if you can select any number of entities, right? Application instances. If you added another service and you had it all selected here, you would actually only be selecting these 5 individual entities. It's not dynamic. If you want dynamic alerts, which Mike, you could do this. So you guys already have labels. Beautiful. If you want to do dynamic-based alerts, you can actually use any of the labels that are on the services. So labels let you just tag anything. And it looks like issues doesn't have an environment tag. And actually, there's 2 environment tags that work here. Did you guys know?
Inconsistency.
Inconsistent tagging.
Yeah, we are working on it.
It's okay. They're here. So this is also going to be part of our standardization. How did you even create that? Doesn't even have those images. Alright, well, actually check it out. I guess, did you apply those to the REST API or something?
Yeah, no, we're based on the configuration level, yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
It's not polished yet, but it's on the way.
got it. Close. These have quotes, so they need to be
Yeah.
rectified, but it's
So,
okay.
yeah.
So my point is though,
Next
the environment
tutorial.
tag If you consistently apply the environment tag, it can be applied inside of the CI/CD tools. So when you build the New Relic YAML file, which I think you guys
YAML, JS, JavaScript,
whatever, yeah, you build it with Chef or whatever.
Yeah, then we don't Chef with variables, and then we apply the standards.
Exactly. Then you can use that for alerts. So whereas I was statically targeting before, you can do label-based targeting. And this is something we're rolling out all over Autodesk. So you could do it by product category. Generally, I think we want to probably alert by environment. So that's targeting all the applications that come online in the account with the tag environment production. And if a new app comes online, it will automatically inherit this policy. And also, this takes some of the configuration mode off, going back, selecting entities and all that stuff. Key metrics here, you're going to get Apdex every time. Anything less than 0.7 minutes. If you're assuming you configure the Apdex right, should be an alert. I'll get to my throughput example that I was trying to have you guys do as a lab. I think you guys already have an Apdex alert too, but I'm just I'll make this policy as sort of like an example, and I'll disable it. And it'll just be in your account. This is like my recommended best practices. So Apdex, error rate, and then other response time metrics that we exposed here. So response time, raw response time. So over a certain number of seconds. Throughput is the one that I have in the lab. So above 5,000 calls, you want an alarm. The service kind of 5,000 calls right now, but. You can also configure how often you want to automatically close all open violations. We'll track these up until that point, and if you've got a violation open longer than 24 hours, we want to stop running. There's like an incident clock that we run. It's probably either a really severe incident that's gone on after 24 hours or something. It's probably dismissed configured and everything else. And then this is the condition. So how do we want to be routing this ticket or incident? What are we actually alarming on? I think
Going quick.
yeah. And since this is targeting production application, they renamed it to Web Throughput Production High. You need to do non-web throughput. This is background. This last one is custom metrics, so all the applications emit all kinds of custom metrics. These could be actually metrics you send from the app too if you're writing metrics out in your application. So, actually, I'll save this. This is good. It's good to have a condition on the throughput that's somewhere, I don't know, way above what you expect. So you can be alerted when there's an out of band or out of normal capacity sort of number of requests. And so custom metrics. Right here. The way we browse custom metrics is a little odd. You actually do this from Insights. So when I was pinging those charts in Insights, it's using New Relic's metric storage. This is different than the event storage from the analytics engine. So here's how we browse those. This is Insights. Go to the Data Explorer. In the Data Explorer, there's the event role, which lets you group and fasten and filter. If you remember, we're looking at error analytics. It's very similar to UI. Also gives you sample events from different page views. So these are some of the services that are instrumental with the browser. Every product has its own different little bucket in there. So applications have different metrics as well. Let's go to workflows. A custom metric that you want to alert on let's say you want to alert on database transaction response time. So on average, the database transactions are all under 1 millisecond in workflows, and this is the metric name here. Data store all. So that's sort of like our internal naming convention for all the response time of all the data store calls for this app. If you want to get the exact metric name, you need to go into API Explorer. That's a link that's off of the Data Explorer. Any chart that you render there. So here's data store all is the exact metric name. And then go back over a couple tabs to our conditions. You can also search from here. Data store all. We want to say average value is above 50 milliseconds, because usually it's at 5 for 1. It's generally 1 second. And then we got to name this since it's a custom metric. So data store, response time, here, 50. There you go. Last thing that you can configure in an alert is runbooks. Do you guys have like incident response, sort of like triage handbooks for each service
Yeah.
in a wiki?
No, service now.
No. Okay. Do they have URLs or are they?
Yeah, there are URLs. Yes, but haven't attached document on.
But if this alert just goes into service now, it doesn't matter. Will it automatically find the runbook
No.
and apply it? Oh, okay. So you should link it in here when you create a policy. There should be some sort of detailed like triage notes or something.
Yeah, we can't have on the wiki because what happens if the wiki goes down?
What happens if source now goes down?
Exactly. I'm in this argument.
Okay. This because ServiceNow is like a SaaS thing that you pay to host. Isn't Wiki the same thing? I don't know. Okay, I won't go there.
Don't try to understand the crazy.
Yeah, I won't. All right, cool. So we made some policies. We got our throughput policy. Sorry, some of you guys don't have access to check this out. Sounds like you should give them all access.
They can check out the policy, just not create new ones.
Oh, really? Okay, so then can you all see my policy if you only have? Okay. Oh. That's something. I think by default, if any notification you create or any policy you create, you all automatically contribute it to yourself as an email address, forward. But you guys can ping this out to Slack or what have you. Actually, let's do. Let's go service now. There's a cool thing you can do. There's API keys for everything in Relic. And you can actually insert custom events into insights from a REST API. If you grab this header, you can actually create a alerts dashboard. Just get the right header here. You can, if you want a webhook, you can customize the payload also. So this is the JSON payload that it fires, so you can have like custom attribute, I don't know. It's worth noting as well, labels do automatically get published through the alerts. So you can like use the labels that you tag your applications with to like route different priorities and severities in ServiceNow. And so custom attribute is custom thing.
Joe,
Yeah,
we'll take a 10 minutes break around the 3, is it okay?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
JSON payload. That's jet lag for you. All right, cool. And if we send this test notification, okay. Well, that was supposed to be my example of getting this thing into a demo of one. Well, you get the idea. You can webhook it out. It's a JSON payload. You can do what you want with it. If you guys are using Slack, send your alerts into your team Slack channel. Pretty common practice. And even like noisier alerts that maybe are warnings or things that you want to be aware of but don't want to take action on. Just send those in Slack too. You guys do any sort of like chat ops stuff right now?
SOS channel, that's good for that.
SOS channel. So New Relic uses an emergency room channel. We have everyone swarm into the emergency room channel. That's where all the incidents are.
Or we have a channel for incident.
Yeah,
We have
the SOC team
Yeah.
opens a chat and
Yeah.
everyone lumps them down
it has like an incident ID as the chat.
with the ideas.
The manual troubleshooting. So in New Relic land we do manage the incident from a chat log. And he makes like a log if there's an incident
On
command.
in 17, anyone?
It's all done in Slack real time.
It's there.
Yeah. So the next thing I was gonna have you guys do, so you don't have access, have any of you made a baseline policy in the DevOps team? Have you seen any of that?
I did
You play with it?
not ill, but I don't know.
So I'll put it in my example policy. So you have baseline policies for all of the standard application metrics that we were talking about from APM, so response time, Apdex, things like that. Throughput's another common one. And so what this is actually doing is it's running multiple different algorithms against the trends of data. And it's actually updating, if it finds a new pattern, updating the algorithm that it's using to evaluate the metric as it comes in. And it does that every 1 minute. So it's fairly fine-grained. There's one aspect of baselines that we allow users to configure, and that's the sensitivity of the algorithm. So you want to define a threshold on your response time, and you want to give it a warning threshold as well. It will replay in this UI against the data we collected in the past week. So you can see where it was determined the high or low was. And we can actually go scope this down, make it tighter, change the warning threshold. Independent of the actual critical violation threshold. And you notice as I drag this around, you can see this on TV, right? It's giving you actual replays of where you would have had violations here. So these yellow bars would have been points where we would have sent a warning, and those are visual indicators in UI. And then red is where we would have actually sent a critical alarm. This is just targeting one entity, but if you had, let's see, 3, 4, 5 entities, you could actually, you apply the same sensitivity to all of them, max. And you could actually see what that sensitivity threshold looks like on all the different apps. Probably good to go through and make sure that, I don't know, I wouldn't probably put a baseline on 5 apps at once. I would probably do one. But maybe that's just me being gun shy. I don't know, try it out. It's something that's sort of improving all the time, so. I think one of the cool things we have at New Relic is like a huge ingest of data. So we can take a lot of the fine tuning of these algorithms against all of our different customers, and the algorithms in themselves get better over time. That's the promise of AI, right? Because we actually have a very rich set of data to run these queries on. Like Google doesn't have metric data from applications, but they have search data, so they have the best search. I think we have probably more application metrics than any other company on the planet. So we should have better baseline algorithms in here. That was alerts. That's pretty much the 2 o'clock section.
So about alerts, so it takes about 1 minute to get the wait, in a wait time incident. It gets you about 40-50 seconds to get the real alert.
Yeah.
To get a notification. It's not instant. You cannot catch it very fast. Since the data is aggregated.
It does take time for the data to actually go through the ingest pipeline, yes. But I would say that if you have your alerts tuned well, you should be alerted. Since the application data is actually sensors in the code, it will give you a good indication of an issue that is starting to occur or will occur shortly, because we're monitoring every transaction. So if you've got Apdex tuned and you've got good Apdex thresholds set in your alert policies, that should catch your issues before you're actually noticing like a flow failure in the system.
Good functionality.
Do you have some cases where you didn't get alerted properly? I mean, we can look at the settings and stuff. It does take time. It does take time to adjust the data, like no doubt.
Yeah.
So our general stance is that, or I don't know that we guarantee an SLA of like how much time it takes to ingest, but I'd say like about a minute or so from the time something happens in the application or the end user's device that we measured with browser or APM, we should have the data inside of New Relic and have it through the alerts pipeline. Just architecturally, the alerts pipeline sits on the very edge of New Relic, and the databases where we save the data are all the way through the stack. So you should get an alert before you actually even see, technically you see the data actually represented in the UI. You notice the UI has like a little bit of a chart line.
Yeah.
That's kind of by design, or out of necessity, I guess. It's time to save data to disk.
So to bypass this, add as much as fine-grained alerts as possible.
Yeah, if you want super fine-grained alerting, use Nurple alerts. So you notice when I was looking at APM alerts, excuse me, the APM alerts give you, set up yet another alert policy, down to 5 minutes for their evaluation period. So we need to violate this threshold for at least 5 minutes in order to trigger an incident, for Apdex, for example. In Nurple, Insights, it lets you do 1 minute, but I don't think I would recommend that. So let's count transactions as an example. If the query reaches our threshold above, whatever is it, 150 throughput, you can go down to 1 minute. If you're going to do this, you should change the advanced settings. So there's this evaluation offset. Insights is more of a real-time streaming data platform. It's actually its own in-memory database. We've designed it. It's proprietary. It uses like the distributed MySQL workers and chunks of data spread out all over the place to get query results back quickly. This says basically, I want to wait for late data to arrive before starting my evaluation, because some of the data can get there faster, potentially. So 3 minutes is the recommended threshold. So that with a 1 minute evaluation period and a 3 minute offset, you're probably pretty safe with bulky things like transaction data. Transaction data sent all the time every 1 minute. maybe going down to 2 or 1 minutes. So that gives you a 3-minute response MTT, like minimum MTT detect. MTT detect, whatever. Yeah. But what you probably encounter with this is like some noise. So if there's ever like, I don't know, a reason why an agent misses like a polling cycle or something, which can happen, or get packets get lost on the internet, then you might get an alert that triggers that was storing no data, which is probably kind of annoying. So, have you try it? The 3 minutes is recommended. You gotta wait for the data to run.
Okay.
Cool.